Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Nelson. I'm the program manager for Pivotal New Mexico. Welcome to our webinar on grants.gov. There are a lot of people who have registered for this event, over 90 people. There's going to be a lot of folks joining us today. For folks who are just joining us on the call and getting into the Zoom now, there's still more people just coming on in. One question for all of you, just introduce yourself, your name, your organization, and if you could, make use of the emoji button on your reactions, like in the chat. You can press the emoji button over there. If you see it, it's like on the right-hand corner of the chat function. Just answer this one question: how are you feeling using an emoji button? Because that's always fun. So you can choose a wide gamut of emojis. So look at that. I see thumbs ups, great. Love, heart signs, awesome. Brittany, welcome. And Amber, really great use of the emoji function. Thank you. Love it. We'll let people do that. For those of you just in the Zoom room, folks are just introducing themselves via the chat, your name, your organization, and how are you feeling using the emoji button. You're welcome to press the emoji button as much as you can. I see a lot of thumbs up. Really appreciate the thumbs up and everything like that. We'll get started here in just a moment. I'm going to light up the chat today. We are at 50 people. Wow. All right. I see a cookie. All right. You didn't bring any to share. Obviously, we're on Zoom, so that's not possible. Kara, good to see you. A lot of familiar faces, familiar folks in the Zoom room today. Good to see everyone. Welcome, Diane, and welcome, Pam from Taos on Stage. Good to see y'all. Clovis Main Street, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Love that the Main Streets made it today. Emily, good to see you. All right. Get started here in just a moment. See a lot of folks, see a lot of familiar faces. Rosie, thank you so much for joining us today. Good to see you, Chuck. Hello from Phoenix. Welcome from Phoenix, Kimberly. Ken, thanks for joining us from the Los Alamos Arts Council. Appreciate y'all. A few more people joining us today. Jennifer Knapp, welcome Jennifer Knapp from La Montanita. Good to see you. Chris Ann Gray, good to see you too. Haven't seen you in a long time. Kayla Strickler from HopeWorks. Hi Kayla, thanks for joining us. Lots of folks today. We have over 55 folks in the Zoom room today. There might be a little bit more, but until then, I'll give a little bit of just a preamble for what we're doing here today. So Pivotal New Mexico has been around since 2015 as a nonprofit organization. Our main programs are our Talent Academy, which just started again, its 6th cohort 2 weeks ago. That is primarily what we think of as in terms of our grant training. We had our 6th cohort start again 2 weeks ago. We've had served over 51 different organizations with that. And raised over $12.5 million with those different organizations as well. There's our cooperative network. There's Linda, which works to connect people and within the community in New Mexico, and also just share resources and funding resources alike, so that people can go get the funding that is outside of our state and within our state as well. There's so much there. We have over 300 members there. It's really amazing to see it grow every single day. Since day one, it's been amazing, amazing, amazing. Our 3rd program is Grow New Mexico, which has taken on so much life here in the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic, and has allowed us to really, really expand our reach outside of the Central New Mexico corridor, and which is really what brings us here today to this point. And so we've partnered with the Kellogg Foundation to start doing a series of conversations, trainings, brown bags, webinars, workshops on getting people prepared for the recovery effort. So if you didn't know, there's a lot of federal funding that's coming down the pipeline now and soon and currently and all that good stuff. It's happening. And so we want to make sure that nonprofit organizations, community organizations and the like are ready for the federal recovery as much as possible. We saw a lot of this 10 years ago when the Recovery Act after Obama was elected in 2009. So we want to make sure that we're applying some of the lessons that we learned 10 years ago to the situation that is happening now, so that folks can, so our communities can recover, and that our nonprofits can bring some of that really great funding back to our communities as much as we can. So Terry or Shana or Wendy, is there anything you want to add before we go ahead and get started? I pass to Wendy. No, we're good on that front. And also, we're just going to, while Wendy's introducing herself, or before, after she introduces herself, we'll have a little poll so folks can answer those questions. It'd be really helpful. So with that, I will spotlight you, Wendy, and welcome. And could you introduce yourself, please?
Make sure my volume's on. Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Mccoy. I work with the grant plant, and we work closely with Pivotal, and we're also working on this Kellogg grant application. My main role with the grant plant is prospect research. So I'm going to go through and give you 10 tips on how to use grants.gov just through a prospecting lens. So that's the focus I'm going to focus on today. And then I guess I can get started with these tips whenever we're ready. Let's see. So I don't know, do you want to try to share the screen, Robert? Because I could go through, I could show the grants.gov window. I think I can.
Before we do that, Wendy, could I just do this really quick?
Sure.
We're just gonna launch this really quick poll and just kind of get a sense of who's out in the audience today. So there are 3 questions, two for serious and one for fun. So the first question is, are you a member of our cooperative network? Yes, no, not sure. The second question is, how familiar are you with grants.gov? No clue. I log onto the site 2 to 3 times a year. I use the site 2 to 3 times a month. I'm on the site 2 to 3 times a week. I'm on the site every day. And the third question, just for fun, Star Wars or Star Trek, live long and prosper, or may the force be with you, or I'm not a fan of either. You know, Zoom rooms in the pandemic are just so much. We just want to make sure that everyone's on their toes, especially on a Wednesday afternoon after lunch. I hope everyone's staying awake and having a little bit of energy. So we want to bring that to all of you. It looks like Star Wars, that 50%, y'all, may the force be with you. But in terms of the serious questions, though, it looks like, Wendy, a lot of folks log onto the site, into grants.gov, like 2 to 3 times a year. We're at 48% there. And then we have a lot of folks, 40%, say they have no clue, which, all right, that's it's all good. That's why we're here today. And then for folks not in our cooperative network, they're about 45% not in our network so far. I will say, if you are interested in joining our network and being a member of that, please. I know Linda Serrato's on the call too, but you're welcome to ask one of us on the Pivotal team. Those folks are myself. There's Terry Bruner, our CEO. Shana Baker is on the call too, Linda Serrato, and I know Wendy's with the grant plant, but that's our sister organization. We share an office. So you're welcome to ask us any questions. We'll leave contact information in the chat. Looks like 82% of the people have answered the survey. Looks really good so far. So I'd say a majority of folks have logged on to grants.gov 2 to 3 times a year. That's all right. Not many people say, like, I'm on the site every day. Oh, okay. I thought we at least have one person who's like, I live and breathe that every single day. But that's okay. It's okay. I know Wendy's on the site every day. Maybe. Wait. No. Yes. See. Yeah. All right. Okay. And then, of course, the most important question, which is Star Wars or Star Trek. Most people in the audience are Star Wars fans. Oh my gosh. Okay. May the force be with you. With that, we will end the poll. And Wendy, I will pass it back to you to share your screen.
Okay.
And we will go from there.
Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Let's see. I'm going to hope so. So grants.gov, I like grants.gov a lot. I think it's pretty intuitive, and it's pretty easy to learn. So if you haven't used it or you're not used to using it, if you just go into Google and type grants.gov, you can easily find the homepage there. And another thing is that grants.gov, the help, is very responsive. So if you get in there and you have any questions or you're struggling to find something, you can click the help up in the corner here, and they're timely, responsive, and they can help you out a lot. But the first thing that you should do when you're looking for grants is they have this nice learning center. You can kind of go through and familiarize yourself with that, but it's good to know which agencies may provide funding to your organizations because they're going to be the agencies that you'll target. So this grants.gov page just goes over each of the grant agencies in case you're not familiar with which ones might be applicable to your organization. So it's good to go through and get a feel of what the agencies are and where you might best fit. So that's a good starting point. In terms of the searching grants, I'm going to go over and just give some tips. So I search for grants, my internet's slow, for a number of different focus areas for different fields. Many of you will have just one field. Let's see. So that actually makes it, my screen's moving slow. Makes it a little easier. So you can set up searches. Once the screen opens, you can set up search parameters. So you can go through and select your fields of interest. Here we go. Slow. I struggle with slow internet out where I live. Here we go. So if you go, this is the main search page, and it has like a number of different features. You can enter keywords, which are pretty helpful. The opportunity number, which provides, it's a specific opportunity number for the current prospect that's open, and the CFDA number, which is generally a number that carries over each year for your opportunity. And then you have additional fields on the side here. Opportunity status, you can forecasted are the ones that grants.gov is predicting to come out. The ones that are posted are the ones that are opened right now, and the ones that are closed are what's been recently closed and archived is like maybe a year. I'm not sure the time frame, but they're just older ones. And they can go back at least 5 years, the postings. You can search by funding instrument type, eligibility, and then your category. And then by agency. So those are your fields. What I did want to show is if you have like a search, like if you're searching for a specific program, I think I have to, or if you have, let's type in, if you have like, well, let's go through, anyway, you can set up a search and it will send you emails with the time frame you set up. It could be daily or weekly or bi-weekly, and then you can scan your emails. So that's pretty helpful. And you can just go through, it wants me to sign in. You can go through and set that up for your organization. And for different programs, you can, like my search is set up for pretty much everything: environmental, health and human services, just whatever field you want to set it up for. So that's kind of the best way to get set up initially, because it's nice to just get those email prompts. So I do that, but then I also use grants.gov for active prospecting. And for me, like I'll start with the keyword search. So if you're searching for a general term, you have, you know, whatever keywords describe your program. So if you're into environmental, if you're an environmental organization and you're into water conservation, if you want to type like a phrase, you need to use the double parentheses. If you don't use the double parentheses, it'll just pull up water, or it won't tie it together. You can also use the double parentheses to type in like the name of a program, and that will narrow that down. So you could look. I think, so that's tip number one. If you use your keyword search and start broad, and if you want to use a phrase, put it in the double parentheses. So then when you search for something, grants.gov is, most federal grants run in either cycles. So it's good to look just past the open opportunities. So I'm going to use AmeriCorps for an example. So say you're interested in an AmeriCorps grant. You can look at what's open now, but if you're looking for a grant opportunity and you want to know how often it's released, let's see, let's make this more specific. Okay, then you can sort by date. So here, like, say you're interested in applying to the AmeriCorps grant, but it's already passed for the year. So you can see that it was posted, it's actually open right now in September of 2019, but then you can go back and see it was also posted in September of 2020. And then September of 2019. So you can kind of get a plan. So you use it not just to screen for open opportunities. If you check the opportunity status for closed ones, it broadens your search, and it really, you can use it to kind of plan for the year. So you use it not just to find, the open opportunities, but to look kind of beyond. And then when you develop your grant making plan, you can calendar it. So if you're not ready to apply for it this September, then you put it on your calendar for next September. So that's kind of the other point. Number two is to open up this opportunity status and broaden your search. Look beyond just your open opportunities. Now the forecasted, let's see if we can look at forecasted. So the forecasted opportunities, and these are not super great examples because they're international grants. But if you look at these, like if you're interested in a grant, it'll forecast when it's supposed to come out. So it'll give like an estimated post date and then an estimated due date. And usually you have an estimated post date where you can kind of calendar it in and know when to look for it. And then if you're interested in it, you can add this opportunity to your saved search. So that's point number two, is to just look beyond what's for this opportunity status, what's currently open. Like just keep your mind open to what's been closed and what's been archived, and use that to try and like predetermine the cycles. Some things are offered annually. A lot of them are offered on 4-year cycles. So if it's just out, then you might have to wait 4 years for that grant to come back in. So it's just a good indicator of how to plan your calendar. So what the other thing I like to do, I'm going to go back to water conservation.
Wendy, while you're looking that up, we have a couple questions in the chat. First is,
sure.
Can you hear me? So a couple questions in the chat. One is from, one is about, is the grants.gov website available in Spanish? Is there a way for people to have language access? Do you know? I was looking and I couldn't find it.
I'm not. Yeah, they usually have a translate page at the top of just the general Google, but I have not checked. But I would think you could translate the page at least. I don't know if they have like an actual grants.gov page that's, set in Spanish that you go to, but I bet you can translate the page so it reads in Spanish.
Okay, that's helpful. And there's just a couple more. So can a nonprofit organization that is fiscally sponsored set up an account without having an employee identification number?
Yeah, and just people can set up an account. So when you log into grants.gov, you actually have your individual account. You just log in with your email, and you can set yourself up as just a person or under an organization, or however you want to set that up. So you don't have to put your EIN or even tie yourself to an organization. So for example, for myself, like I search for all different kinds of organizations. So I just have my email and have listed a whole, like every focus category as an interest area for myself.
Okay, thank you. And it sounds like, I know questions are coming in. So is there a place to screen out international grant opportunities? It sounds like that you'll probably cover that here in a second. And then that last question in the chat is from Emily. It says, how do you set up those emails that you mentioned, Wendy? Emily's in the system, but can't seem to see where to sign up. And I can say that the sign up is typically at the towards the top right-hand corner, but I could be wrong on that front.
Yeah, I think at the top right hand, there's right next to the help is the register button. So you can just click on that and I think go ahead and set up your account. And after I think when you set up your account, it's been a long time since I've done that, but I think you can set up your searches right away if you already know what you're searching for. And if you're searching for like a specific opportunity, you can find one of the old ones that's been closed, I think, and then kind of add that to your search as well. So then when it comes out in the future, you should get a notice. Is that helpful? I think.
I already have an account, and I didn't sign up for those automatic. I don't remember whether it offered me that opportunity or not. So I'll keep tooling around in here and see if I can find where I can. Thanks so much.
And so also, if you create a search, like with a keyword, or you can do a search by typing in the name of the funding opportunity that you're interested in, or the CFDA number. After you have your search, then I know you can also save your search. So that's an easy way to do it. If you want to add a search or have a list that you're interested in, then you can just go here and set it up and then go over to save your search. And then once you're logged in, I don't think I'm logged in right now, it'll let you go into your account and save your search. And then once you're into your search, you can update however you like. So that's kind of a good way to get into it too, real quick. Okay, so I'm going to keep on going. So I'm going to pull just a search. So say my internet's going slow again. So my search here for water conservation. Oh, there we go. So the other thing, so you get a big broad list, right? And you know that you're probably, if you know your agencies, you're probably targeting. That's what I find to be the most helpful narrowing factor. I personally don't really like to narrow by eligibility because sometimes grants.gov will cut out, like if you can apply through a partnership, like if it's limited to a government applicant, but then if they often partner with nonprofits, it'll cut that one out. So I like to personally just screen. I don't limit the eligibility too much, but you can go in and select nonprofit, and you can play around with it too. So I think, you develop your first list, and then also for category, it's kind of the same. If you want to do environment, you can click here. And a lot of times these lists aren't too big. Do I have all my boxes? Oh, here we go. We're going to make it bigger. And then they're still not too big when you go down to your categories. Now you have 250 in agriculture, if that's what you're targeting. But again, my favorite, I would just do agency. So if you know your water conservation and say you're an agriculture producer, you're probably going to be interested in the Department of Agriculture. So it's really nice to get to know your agencies and which ones are most likely to be your funders. So then here you have a list of 257. It's still pretty big. And also for funding instrument, I would just include anything. A cooperative agreement is, it's a lot like a grant. It's just more detailed. You're kind of working with the agency a little more closely, hand in hand, but you want to include those as well. And then I would just leave all these in there. And then you have your list. And then over here, I do sort it by the close date. So I do start with the recent posts because, of course, you want to see what's out there in case there's something you can apply for right away. And then I usually go to about 4 years. So here, it's pretty easy to scroll through just to look at the name. And, like this one's South Dakota, or you can mark a lot out just by looking at the name. But I scroll about at least 3 years out. So I would look, 3 to 4 years out, because sometimes they run on 4-year cycles. So the ones that are 4 years out, even though it's 4 years away, it might be offered this year because it's, toward the end of the 4-year cycle. So that's why I use that rule of thumb. There's not that many 5-year cycle grants. I think some of the U.S. USDE, Department of Education, they have a few 5-year grants, but they're about the only ones that off the top of my head. Most other ones are annually to 4 years. So that's kind of my rule of thumb with like the screening to the years out, and then narrowing my lists. If my list is too long here, then yeah, I can go over and try to play around with different things. I can select nonprofit and see, now I only have a list of 118. And then if you cut that down by the years, so I would play around with my list, make it manageable, and just, it takes time. You have to kind of go through it. So that's tip number 3, is to just get your broad list, and then play around with how you want to narrow it down, and then search at least 4 years out. Okay, so is there any questions kind of about, are we caught up with questions? I can't see the chat. So if there's a question, just flag me down and let me know. Okay, so my other tip, so this one is just, there's grants.gov is strange in that if you want to view an opportunity, you can't, it'll open a new page. If you click on it, it won't open in a different window or a different tab. It opens in this new page. And then you have your summary, which maybe I should show. It's a nice little summary that grants.gov does. But it's not always 100% accurate. It gives your eligible applicants, but not in detail, just like a very broad overview. And it gives a nice short description. And then usually your NOFO, your like request for proposals, is in this tab right here, the related documents. So then you have to go up here and click on this PDF. And So if you find one that you're interested in from this summary, you should always go into the PDF, double check the eligibility right away, make sure that it's accurate, and then just see other points, just verify the other points that you're interested in that tie into your organization. Because sometimes it is, not often, it's usually right, but it's not always right. Sometimes it'll even have the deadline wrong, or the amounts wrong. And then usually it gives a lot more specific detail about the eligible applicants. So that's where I start. I just double check that we're eligible. So that's the little overview here. But in terms of making it easier, now to go back to my list, I have to click this back button. And then you can see my list is gone. So that drives me crazy. And then I have to go through it all over again. So then I have to, it's not too hard, but you have to click, the same, whatever parameters you had to bring your list back. So to make your life easier, what I do is I'll open the opportunity that you can't do that either. I open grants.gov in another window, and then I search the ones that are on my list, because let's see. So you can use opportunity number. You can just copy the opportunity number and paste it right there, and it'll bring it up. And slowly, because my internet's slow, and then you can look at it there. And then you don't lose your list because it'll also, if you're on page 2 or 3 of your list, it won't remember that you're there. You have to go back in every time and reset everything. So that's a good tip, is just if you want to go through your list without losing it, open it in a different tab for your search. Let's see. The next tip I had was to look for the funding cycle, which we talked about. Once you find your opportunity, go back in and type in the name of your opportunity and look for that funding cycle again. Try to determine if it's offered on that 4-year cycle annually. Like if you just missed it, is it going to be posted next year, the same time? Because a lot of times, almost all the time for these federal grants, it's good they don't change too much, the NOFAs or the RFPs, so you can go through it and even know what you need to apply. So you can do steps if you know it's going to come out to prepare yourself, because they're a big feat to apply. The other thing I had on here is that sometimes, in addition, opportunities change names. So one good example, and then it gets a little tricky. So if you're looking for your funding cycle and it's changed names, you're not gonna, it depends on your search. If you're using like a keyword to search, I think I had this in a different tab. Yeah. If you're using your keyword to search, like it'll just bring up the current name. But the Department of Transportation has an infrastructure grant, and its name changes with like every new administration. So it used to be Tiger, back years ago, and then it changed to Build, and then recently it's changed to Raise. So you have to, if you use the CFDA number, which is listed, if you click on the opportunity number, it'll give you the CFDA number. I'll show you in a second. And you can type that there, and it should, not always, but it should give the past history. So here we just get a history of this grant and all its different name changes, which is kind of interesting. But I'll show you where you can pull the CFDA number. But that's where that comes in helpful, because it should pull most of the time the different name changes, but it also will include, like, sometimes you'll have a program with like a master program, I guess, for a better word, but with like 3 programs under it, sometimes it'll pull all those programs. So sometimes it gets a little jumbled. It's not always perfect. So here's our summary again. It always has the CFDA number right there. So if you find a prospect you're interested in, you want to see if it's been offered through a different name or if it has other similar programs, you can copy the CFDA number and go back into your search and put your CFDA number in there to search. So let's see. So that's okay. Yeah. The next thing was just to go over and know where to find the NOFOs, which we went over in the related tab. Let me go back because sometimes it gets complicated because not every summary is exactly the same. So sometimes you have to, here we go. Sometimes to find your NOFA, down here it'll have a link to an external page. It'll be a page for the specific grant opportunity. So you'll have to click here and it'll take you to, like if it's the USDA, a page from the USDA that has usually a nice description of your program, and then you may have to access documents there. A lot of times it's in these related documents. There's your NOFA. If it's not here, sometimes you have to go to the package and hit I think there's usually, if it's in the package, there's a button, it'll say like download information, and you click that button and that'll be where your NOFA is. Since here it's in the related documents tab, we wouldn't go that route. But just know sometimes you have to click around to find your, it's not always in the related documents tab. Sometimes it's in the package tab, and then sometimes you have to find it by going through the link to additional information. The next thing I wanted to share is like if you have a coworker and you want to send them this opportunity, you cannot go up here to your browser and copy this link and send it to them. That would just take them to the search grants page. And it's very frustrating. So if you want to share your opportunity, you have to click this link button and you have to copy your opportunity from here to share, like with a coworker. And then when they click their link, they'll be directed to this page. Now, one thing that's good about the link using the grants.gov link is that it usually stays solid for 4 years, 5 years, even more than that, I think. Whereas if you share, by a program page, or if the opportunity is currently open, a lot of times after 6 months or after it closes, the link won't work. So if you want like a long-term link, it's good to use this link to share. Then I'll talk about the saved searches. Okay, so kind of point number 10 is that after you've set up your password on grants.gov, since they're the federal government, they're going to require you to change it. Like, I want to say it's at least once a month. I think about once a month. So you have to do that. You have to change your password, or you won't, your searches won't come through by email. They'll stop coming. So to to continue receiving the notifications, your emails, everything, then you need to keep your password up to date. And then the final thing I wanted to show you is, if you're interested, you can search for CARES grants. Different ways, like keywords are good. You can type in CARES and it'll pull up. And this is the easiest way I've found to search. It'll pull up sometimes, like this first one is maybe long-term care facilities, but a lot of times if the application mentions CARES, it'll pull it up. But it's been the best word I've found. Like, I've tried, you can do recovery grants, you can do other keywords, but then if you're targeting we'll just pick on the U.S. Department, the USDA, because that's what we've been using. If you're targeting CARES grants in the USDA, you can usually just type in CARES and click what's posted, and then you can go through and review. You can tell pretty quick if they're tied to CARES. If you if you click on the summary and search CARES, it's usually in the summary. Sometimes it's hidden in the application, but I think I know this one has it. So yeah, so this one has the search pulls up this one, and it's applicable in terms of a recovery grant. So that's a good. You can set up recovery grant searches in grants.gov through using keywords, and then you get email notices. I have it set up. It works pretty good. It's just like any search there, you do get a lot of things that aren't applicable. You have to weed through your email, get the lists that they generate. Sometimes you have to click on the opportunity and, read it closely. But it does work in terms of sending, in terms of monitoring and finding the latest stuff, the grants that come out. And they send them like right away. Like once they're posted, they come in my email pretty fast. So the searches are pretty nice. And I think that's my 10 tips. I know it's kind of a brainstorm session, but I welcome any thoughts or questions, and I can do my best to answer.
Wendy. There's a question from Diana Martinez. In past research of grants.gov, it seemed to direct you to negotiate a federally approved overhead and direct rate. Is this still the case? Is it difficult to apply for this?
I'm trying to see. All right, I'm seeing the chat. I might need to read that one. Oh, I see in past research. So I think that's specific for every grant. The indirect rate is often, I think, 10, 15%. But if you have, sometimes if you have the case, you can negotiate, but it just depends on the department. It depends on the opportunity. It doesn't really do, like the research isn't gonna, I think, tie into here. You'll have to go into your, the actual NOFA and look at your cost rates. And if they have flexibility, sometimes they can negotiate. Is that the question? Is that kind of answering the question? And some of them, if you have, they do make exceptions for like Native American tribes, or I think one was recently they had, one applicant was a government, one was the watershed group, and the watershed group had a lower indirect. And I think it just depends on the NOFA.
Sure.
One more time, would you share one more? Okay, I see a question. So let me share my screen. How to share the grant opportunity was the question. That's an easy answer. So to share, if you have, you click on your opportunity. And this was tricky. It seems like every one of my team members who they always have this question. That's why I included it. They're like, we can't share. And I'm like, oh, you have to click the in the top. So here's your program, your summary. The back takes you back to your list, but not, your searches will be erased. And then the link, you click the link, and this is the URL you can copy, and it will take your coworker, whoever you want to share it with, directly to this opportunity rather than the grants.gov search page. So that's that trick. And then when I share my screen, I can't see the questions. So
Okay, this one is from Mario. To apply for grants on grants.gov, do you need to be registered with SAM, with the Systems Award Management account? Yes.
Yeah, so you'll have to have your SAM and your DUNS and all that set up, and you need to start on that. You should probably go ahead and just get that set up if you're thinking about applying for grants. And there's I'm sure that Pivotal's had has some good resources on how to do that, right, Robert? How to kind of get set up and get ready.
Yes, in fact, I'm just copying the link here too, so everyone has it. So I did share in the chat earlier how to your steps to getting a DUNS number, and then this one is this link right here in the chat is for signing up to get a SAM. So very step by step. It's just follow. I'm always a fan of following instructions. It is very procedural, but and it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to have your application be ready to apply and then just not have to wait on that. That's added stress. You don't want to deal with that. Get that done.
I tried to answer this question directly to the person that asked it, but this question was, so some NOFAs seem to be written for specific entities, such as state government or large multi-state organizations. Although you may read that you are eligible, is there an easy way to distinguish if you really have a shot at the grant?
Yeah, so I think a good way is to look at the number of awards. So if you have that it's offered to state entities and there's going to be 52 awards, or they're going to award one per state, and it's probably going to a certain state agency. If you have a grant and they're only making 2 awards, we don't even include it as we don't send that out to our clients because we know it's probably predetermined. So the number of awards they expect to award is a good indicator of that, I think.
Right. One more question too. I saw this in the chat. I actually answered this private chat with this person, but maybe you have a different perspective on it. How much time in advance are grants usually forecasted?
So some, I do think it varies actually. I've seen some come out the forecast a week and then in just a week, and then the opportunity comes out. But usually I think it's a month to 2 months. And then usually, to be honest, the forecast is like a very broad estimate. So if it's forecasted to come up, October 19th, then to monitor in October and see what happens. And most of the time it's not there on October 19th. You're still looking for it. You still have to wait. But that they're planning to get the grant out. So it is still helpful. It's just hardly ever accurate. I can't say that I've monitored for one to come out on the date, but I know that the ones that I haven't been waiting for, I usually have to wait a little bit longer. I don't think they ever come earlier though, if that's helpful. So.
Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, I have a similar perspective. It's like, oh, they can come out. I know we have grants up on our cooperative network that are for like March of 2022, which is like that's months and months away, and then some that come out within like a week of the deadline. You're just like, oh, how are we going to pull that together? So yeah, so obviously, like one of the biggest things.
I forgot about those. Yeah, and those are new. Like with the CARES and everything, I feel like they didn't have too many that they would predict a year out. That things have changed within this past year, and that's when I started seeing those come through. I did forget about those, so that's a good point. But usually, I would say it's about 1 month to 2 months to 3 months time frame, and then you have your 1 week or your 1 year now. So.
One more question: Is there a good resource to learn what is and what's not considered the planning if you see a federal grant that could strengthen an existing program? And that's in the chat from Cara on
So do you mean like using federal funds to fund an existing program? So like in terms of, you can't use federal funds to like fund, you have to match federal funds with non-federal funds. Is that how this question is? So if you have a program that has like a diverse funding stream, with, some, maybe foundation grants, just non-federal funding, then you're in a good, and you're looking good, you just need to match that funding, then that would be a competitive angle, I think. Is that answering the question? That does not. Okay, so I figured out how to open the chat and share the screen, so that was an accomplishment on my end. So a program that does not currently have federal funding. So usually you have to have you can't be super small, like you have to have a nice size budget, especially, and you look at the size of the grant. So if the federal grant is only making awards of $1 million and your budget's only 50,000, then you're not going to be competitive for that. Like you need to, usually like a good rule of thumb is that, your grant's about 20% of your annual budget, and then you're a contender there. In terms, like if you don't have any past federal funding, if you have other, grant awards, especially from kind of bigger foundations where you've shown that you can manage that money and you're successful, then that's helpful. But look at, the amount that the amounts that are going to be awarded. There are, like $50,000 federal grant would be, great for like a smaller organization. And then you just have to have a history of being able to manage and be responsible financially.
Thanks, Wendy. I know we have about 7 minutes left, but I'll just invite anybody who's still on the call. I know we have well over 50 people on the call, but if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, and we will gladly try to answer it. Or in the chat too. Okay. Well, Wendy, I was just going to ask you, is there anything that you wanted to close with before we start to wrap up today?
I see just one more question real quick about how to set up the search. So the search, just to real quick, like first to have your search, you have to make an account on grants.gov. And then when you make your account, like you can go into your account and set up the search that way. Like you'll have a profile, and then you can navigate and set up your search that way. Or you log in and you can actually create your search on the side, like using the search feature. And then you can go, let me go back. And then you can go back over to that red button, like here. So I create my search over here with keywords, and I can even select, my organization. Then I go over here to this save search, and that will, if I'm logged in, that will take me to my profile and save my search. And then I think and that will automatically link it to your email because your profile has your email and everything. So I think that's the most common question. Yeah, I guess to close, I think just to use grants.gov, you just need to get in and start playing around with it. If you're interested in the recovery grants, I would encourage you to, use some keyword. The CARES is a good keyword, and your agency that you're targeting. So just something simple like that, like CARES, and then select USDA and then add that to your search. And then you're going to get a little listing of applicable ones, and then a lot of not applicable ones. But it's nice to have them come through email, and it doesn't take too long to screen, rather than going on here and doing a search every day or once a week if you want to screen for those sort of grants. But the best way to use it is just to jump in and play around. And then if you have questions, you can ask us, or you can ask grants.gov. They're actually pretty helpful and responsive and easy to talk to. So I think, yeah, it's been fun to come on here and talk about it. I don't get to do this part too often, so presenting is a new area for me, but I do use grants.gov a lot. I do the searches, so I'm also happy to answer questions the best I can. And I want to thank Robert and Pivotal and Terry and everyone for letting me come on and give my little spiel here about grants.gov tips and what I do. I use it, I monitor, I get emails 3 times a week for about every category. So I am on here every day. But thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule just to join us today. I really appreciate the tips that you shared. And yes, I'm going to leave my info in the chat. So if you have any questions about grants.gov or anything like that for Wendy, I can redirect to her and gladly share that information with y'all. This is not the last of our series. We're going to continue doing this for a few weeks. So, can you tell us approximately how many grants you've gotten from grants.gov? I don't know, Wendy, how many grants have, I don't know, actually. There's quite a few.
I think I can look at our website and give you an amount. It's like a lot. But you can, I think you can go to the Grant Planet website and I think they post on the homepage how many award dollars that we've received. We've written a lot of grants. I joined the Grant Planet. I've been there 12 years now. I think they've been at least 14, 15 years. So we get, a lot of grants every year. But it's best just to go on the website and read the numbers, I guess. I think we have some success stories and some examples. But they're not easy to write. I can tell you that. Sometimes they take 100, over 100 hours with our team. And it's just an accomplishment to get a federal grant turned in, I think. Advice someone new to grant writing. I think I would start small with like the local, with your local foundations and kind of smaller foundations to get started, and then follow the instructions of the RFP. Those are like the very broadest tips, but you could also join, I think, the Talent Academy and they would really help you get started. They do a very good job. Probably Robert's better at answering that question than me.
Yeah, thanks for that plug, Wendy. I appreciate it. I do know that we offer, we do offer some tips on getting started with grant writing and stuff. And somebody mentioned, what is Talent Academy? So Talent Academy is one of our big programs. We use it for grant training. It's a 4-month deep dive for grant writing, grant seeking for folks. We've served over 51 different organizations, counties, government agencies, nonprofit organizations to really take the next step in their grant writing and grant seeking. And so we do it as a cohort-based, project-based learning system for 4 months. We usually start in August, end of August, and run until the mid of December. And then we usually take in applications for the next cohort in the spring of the following year. So spring of 22, we'll be looking at another Talent Academy cohort. But glad to answer any questions about it. You can email me and we can talk some more about it. We also have these ongoing series, so this is not the end of it. Our next one, I believe, is planned for September 27th, which is another Wednesday at 2 p.m. So, and I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure we'll get that communicated out to folks on the email list from your registration list. And if you have any questions about the recovery, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll gladly answer any questions you might have about what's coming down the pipeline and how you can get ready for it, and what's the best way to get your organization, your nonprofit organization, positioned for that recovery. And yeah, is there from the Pivotal team, is there anything else y'all want to add? Shayna, or Terry still on the call? I don't know if Terry's still here. I think Terry's gone. No, I think we're good. Anyway, To close out, we are recording this, so we'll make sure that this is available probably within a couple of days over YouTube. So just check your email inboxes for that link. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email us. And we really appreciate your time today. Big thanks to Wendy and big thanks to our big crowd today of people. It's good to see some familiar faces again. We'll be back on September 27th. Bye, all. Have a good afternoon.